Now, a lot of people get confused about research questions, aims, and objectives, because sometimes people put research questions, 10 research questions, and then they put 10 objectives or aims. That's a waste of time. You should have a couple, 2 or 3 for a whole thesis, questions or aims, and then you can have more specific objectives or more specific sub-questions. It doesn't matter what grammar you're using. The grammar depends on your supervisor's favored form of grammar. But it's no point in repeating the same questions in objectives, right? Every time you're going to write a document, think, what are the parts? What is the macro structure elements that I need to put in? What is all the important information? Then, the next important element that you need to look at is what makes it, we use a terminology often in academic development which we call genre, which means text type. What the setting of a text means, where will I find it? So where will you find the research proposal? Is it in an academic journal? No? Where will you find the research proposal? Where's its setting? Okay, no, that's the content. But when I want to read it, where will I find it? Okay, maybe if you're handing in, sometimes an ethics document has elements of the research proposal in, yes? So the ethics committee might get it. Your supervisor might get it on his or her computer. It's not out on academic journals, right? It's not in the public domain. It's a private document, right? Sometimes it can be, if it's a proposal that you're sending out to get money, then it is public. But usually it's more private. Okay, what's the purpose of it? Why do we write our research proposal? Okay, you want money, right? You want people to give you money. Why else?
I think basically
You want to do a master's or PhD, so what are you trying to do with the document?
is to outline the idea, is to give out the idea of
To give out the idea, why?
To contribute to
No, they don't really care about contribution, but you are caring that you are convincing. You are convincing your supervisor that you have something new. Right? Okay, doesn't mean that you necessarily do have something new, but you've got to convince people that you have something new. You've got to convince people to give you money. You've got to convince people that you can write well enough to do your studies. And you've got to convince people, so it's like a strong argument. Trying to convince people that I am good enough. Right? Advertising yourself, but in the most formal way. Okay, so you're really going to make an argument for this study is special, this study is new. All right, content of the text. What do you have inside the proposal?
the research plan.
The research plan, yes. What else? Sorry, the outcomes, possible outcomes. What else? Yes? Okay, not why you're interested. We don't care about you. Yes, why your study is special, new. Why it's, I would say there's two significances. The first significance is, why is my topic important to the world? And you need to prove that with evidence, facts, data. It's an important problem, right? And then the second one is, my topic is special and new, right? And we often do that through the literature, using the literature to make that argument. Okay, what else? Yes? The methodology, how are you going to do it? And how are you going to think about stuff? So the theoretical framework in order to do it. Yes? Anything else?
the techniques that we're going to use.
The techniques are the detailed techniques, your references, anything else? Any other bits that you need? Sometimes you need a timeline. I know at my university they need a Gantt chart. Do you have that? No, but you could put a timeline in, yes? What else? Anything else? Okay, so that's the content. But you've got a lovely little booklet that gives you information on how to, all the content you need to put in. Who's the audience? Who's going to read it? Your supervisor, maybe there's a coordinator of the program that's going to read it. Maybe also the ethics committee. They are very tricky characters on the ethics committee because you have really got to explain it in simple enough language that people outside your discipline can understand. So that's really understanding your reader is very stupid. Not just stupid, but very stupid because they don't know your discipline. You got to explain it very, very simply for them. Okay, what else does it have? The features of the text. It goes on to the next page. Sorry. What is the relationship between the reader and the writer? Because that affects how you write. Now, my classic example there is the academic journal. In the academic journal, the way we write must be very neutral. We don't use Professor Smith said blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter if Professor Smith is the most famous man in the world. You say Smith et al. Stated, right? So in the academic journal, we pretend to be equal, even though we're not, right? So we have this egalitarian, neutral way of communicating. What about the proposal? Does it have a similar tone? Yeah, I think it's got to be similar, but in the proposal, particularly if you're in science and technology and you're part of a research group, you might say this study fits into the work of the Smith Laboratory in this way, or it builds on the work of. So you might be more explicit on how you fit into the study. Okay, what are the expectations or conventions of this text? For that, it's really important not just to get example theses, but ask your supervisor for good proposals. Can I see a good proposal? You say my proposal's bad. Can I see a good one? That you thought a student did a good proposal? Can I see an example? Your supervisor might say, but it's not on the same topic. Say, don't worry, I just want to look at an example of the structure and the way in which, what are the conventions? Okay, what background knowledge, values, and understanding is shared? Now there it depends on the proposal. If it's the proposal for ethics, assume nothing is shared. Give them all the detail, explain everything. Explain all the terminology in detail. If it's just for your discipline, you don't have to do that because they know that you share a lot more knowledge. Okay, then what is the relationship of this text to other genres? And you'll see that in many ways it's the same as an article. It's the same, specifically the literature review does the same thing. It does the same thing as your thesis. So if you learn how to do the proposal well, you can often copy that structure, particularly of the introduction and the literature review in your thesis. You just make it longer, bigger.